Hi, everyone. Welcome to Happy Connections. My name is Kayla. Welcome back, my sunbeams. Welcome for the first time if you're new here. We talk all things journaling, lifestyle, and I guess joy. But today we're going to talk about a topic that's been sitting on my heart for quite a while that I was very unsure about how to bring up, and it's all things pleasure and why that really matters and how you can incorporate more of that in your life. So, the first thing people hear when it comes to pleasure might be overindulgence, too much, that it might feel dirty, that there's no need, that it's frivolous. And so there's a whole lot of connotations that come with the idea of pleasure. Some people make it overly sexual. Others think that if you can't have too much of a good thing. Of course, these are all American-centric standards, and that looks different around the world. But pleasure at its core is meant to help spruce up life. And I personally believe that life would not be able to go on without it. There's obviously a biological standpoint for why pleasure is important and what it takes. But today in particular, we're going to look at it, as we always do, through a very reflective lens, and for our lifestyle and spiritual growth, as to why pleasure is a necessary component of your practice if you are not already indulging in it. So, pleasure, feeling joy, happiness, good sensations from engaging in activities. I think that's a very broad definition, broad enough at least. And for a while, I always wondered, why is that important? And I'm gonna keep it real. So, as a child, or as a child, a young adult. I mean, I guess I am a young adult, but as a teen, I was taught, when growing up in a very Christian background, that it is a sin. Like, the ideas of pleasure had been so deeply woven with carnal desire, flesh pursuits, or whatever the word is, that I found it really difficult to. I saw it as a distraction, right? And so pleasure had been very sexualized when I was younger. When that simply is not the case. Like, you can say I have pleasure from having good ice cream or like a good meal. Like, that brings me pleasure. But I had been taught that words like joy and happiness were probably more appropriate. However, they're saying pleasure versus saying joy is just two different things. I don't know. Joy feels a little altruistic, but pleasure is like, to me, feels like more of a sense of agency and intentionality. There's a sense of accountability when it comes with pleasure. You choose to seek it out. And so when you seek out pleasure, there's different perspectives on whether or not it's a good thing. And in this case, I'm here to share why you should think a little bit closer as to how you can ingrain that in your practice and what it did for me. So going back to my childhood, I had seen it as a distraction, that if things were bringing me too much, I don't want to say happiness or joy, if I enjoyed them too much, that meant I was overindulging and that it was taken away from something else. I had very strongly associated that life with struggle. I was living a struggle narrative, and I thought that was the only way to live. If things were hard, that means you're working and you're doing good. And I have since transitioned to another phase of my life where I am okay with things being easy, with things coming to me easily, with it just falling in my lap, where it's just as simple as a ask and you shall receive. I don't want to work hard. Not that I don't work hard, but I didn't feel the urge to I don't feel that urge to make life hard for myself. And that comes from a source of pleasure. I want to enjoy my life. Now, we can take it in a different perspective. I This might be a bit provocative, but I think I should live my life in a way that turns me on every day. Like, yeah, very provocative. But when I say that, it's so that I know that I'm intentionally like, is this a life? I've probably said that a little too brisk, a little bit upfront. But is this a life that I derive joy from? That I get good sensations from? That I wake up and I'm like, yes, I want to live another day. Does this life turn me on to the people that are around me, to the opportunities that are in store, to, I don't know, the visions that I have for it? Am I excited by it? Does it invigorate me? Do I feel called to know that I was here for a purpose? And so that mindset switch happened when I stopped limiting myself to only to seeing pleasure as a, like, I broke past the bound of seeing pleasure as a bad thing. And of course, there's a very physical transition before it becomes a mental transition for me. But when I realized that it was okay to enjoy things, then it got better, and I had to start to shift my mind more in that direction. And personally, it was very hard to move forward without finding joy. Like, am I doing this because it makes me feel good for no other reason than it makes me feel good? Just because you're doing something that feels good to you does not make it bad. Now, everything in moderation, of course, but it's not bad to enjoy yourself, right? And if you're dealing with that struggle narrative, I mean, let me know down in the comments. But I know it's like you feel that things have to hurt, that it has to hurt to get good. I don't subscribe to that narrative. It doesn't have to hurt. I mean, growing pains, yes. Challenge, yes. But it doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to feel like I have to give everything up and scrape myself clean and suffer and be in despair. No. That is not the life that I want. And so what does that look like? Right? You say, oh, find pleasure, find joy. It takes so many different forms that we are interconnected bodies, of course. So doing things one way will not limit you from experiencing the effects in another area of your life. I see it in three specific areas: the self, romantic, that means or particularly in connection with others, and then spiritual, like pleasure for the soul. I'm going to start with the self because it's the most, I guess, material thing. You have the most accountability of it. You deal with yourself every single day. You can choose whether or not you want to follow through. There's no one else you have to wait on. There's no other direction for you to go. Like, the only person you're waiting on is you. And so what are the ways that I cultivated pleasure for myself? It's not limited to beating the bean and excuse my language, just, I'm not even gonna say it, but that is a very basic, that has its benefits as well, but learning to cultivate a life that you desire, that brings up, you cultivate pleasant urges within yourself. And so to me, that was eating high quality foods, like no longer buying things off the deli. Like the chopped cheese was gonna have to go, the BLT sandwiches, like the heavy meat, like it was sitting in my body and I just felt like I needed something like sustenance. But it brought me pleasure when I bought myself sushi and I tried new foods and I looked for more expansive and different types of cuisine than I had tried before. And knowing that I could do that for myself brought me pleasure. And it gave me pleasure in the sense that I was feeding a curious part of myself, that I wanted to try new things, but also sustaining myself. So physically, I was getting the nutrition that I needed. But it also, I feel like it interacted with my soul, and like knowing I could enjoy other cultures, that I wasn't limited to my own sense of being. And that in a weird way made me feel better connected to the world, knowing that I wasn't just limited to the things that I knew, and I could buy and consume things and make them part of myself that would traditionally not be part of me. And so that is an easy one to try something new. Buying perfumes that smelled really good. Like I'm not a big fragrance person. Like I don't have like 500 perfumes, but there are like 3 or 4 up there that when I smell them, I was like, oh yeah. When I wake up and I want to walk around and I go about my business for my day, I want to smell good. I want to feel like I smell good. And so that came with cultivating a beauty routine where I have vanilla lotion and a sensitive skin body wash and perfume that's vanilla because I love vanilla. And, pampering myself in these little ways, like smelling good means a lot to me, right? That brought me pleasure, knowing that I was confident in my scent, that I didn't have to worry too much about it. And I smelled good, so it put me at ease. It was a scent that put me at ease. And then in that case, I brought a diffuser with essential oils. Your senses are a large part of pleasure. Pleasure is not only limited to the body, but you're very much a corporal being. So engaging with that is important. Another self thing I did was like increasing, digging into my beauty routines, like exercising, stretching, allowing my body the movement that it needed. It just felt like my body at a certain time was like dry soil. It needed nourishment, it needed energy, it needed excitement. And so, I'd be sitting around just, oh wow, like turning, twisting, but when I became more intentional about stretching and going to the gym, my body responded positively to that. I was like, oh, hold on, this looking kind of good over here. But I knew that I felt stronger. My ligaments that had been weakened through years of injury felt firm. And I felt like I could do things, and it felt good to be in certain positions. And so that I could reach and hold on to things, and I don't feel too bad about this, and I wasn't in pain. And so positioning myself to not avoid pain, but to overcome pain, by strengthening myself, created pleasure. It didn't hurt to be in positions. It didn't hurt to sit upright for long. It didn't hurt to hold things up that I needed with me. That is definitely worship of the body, which is important. And on worship of the body, and this highly controversial topic, especially as a woman, understanding why it's important to love yourself in all of the ways. Everything I mentioned before, treating yourself out to meals, getting a good scent, having a beauty routine, like dealing with your body. I buy myself flowers. Like, these are all parts of cultivating a very sensual life. To me is important, because I believe that my life is sexy. I want my life to be sexy. I want my life to turn me on. I feel like someone's going to take this out of context. But when you're invigorated by your life and you want to put more in and you want to create, it's all creative, right? The better I feel about myself, the more I want to show up. I feel like I look good today, so I should show up on YouTube. Why not? And these are the kind of things that go through my mind when I'm not looking good, when I'm not smelling good, when I'm just not feeling myself, I don't feel good. I don't want to show up. And when I don't show up, I don't do what I feel like is good for my heart. And so that's why you got to treat your body with care. And recognize that when it comes to pleasure, I don't say you shouldn't. You can do whatever you want. But abstaining and pretending like there's a part of you that doesn't exist that is sexual. I mean, you could be ace or whatever, but exploring the different facets of your life and not just keeping one thing to your away from yourself, not even to yourself, because you're not accessing that, leads to issues later down the line. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about it for a second. But when and I see this all the time, especially for people my age and a little younger, that when you're not aware of your limits, it's easy to let other people take advantage of that. And seek professional guidance on this. I am not a social worker. I am not a legal whatever. I have no advice for this, legal advice for this. But understanding where your boundaries are and what makes you feel good prevents other things from happening. It gives you agency to know that I don't have to rely. It gave me agency to know I don't have to rely on somebody else to know that I can create a life where I pamper myself, where I can make myself feel good, where I can love and lean into my life, and I can make it as attractive to me as I want to. Is it weird to say that I would date me? I guess, but that's what gives me the motivation to do things. Like, I would look at me and I was like, if I was someone else and I was like living my life, I was like, would I want to be with that person? Yes, I want to create a magnetic life. When you have a sexy life, everyone wants to see what's going on. And not that you should be living for the external validation of yourself, but for others, but understanding how you're perceived, and is this a life you want to continue? Is it feeling good to you? Because I know I have a particularly harsh inner critic. How does it look from the outside? Sometimes I need to step back from myself and like, hey, does it look good? Am I cultivating a warm environment? Like, I like a light like that. I like dressing up like this. I feel good about what I do. And so when I feel good about what I do, and when you feel good about what you do, other people will feel good about it, and they'll want to be in that space. And so you start attracting, like honey, you start attracting things, people's opportunities, stuff that also matches your vibe, that's sensual, that fits, that's right for you. And so when you know that about yourself, you don't have to go outside to get it. And that's at just the base level, having pleasure. Now, obviously, the next portion of that is romantic and your relationships with others. Romantically, be very real with yourself. This is not to talk about what you should look for in a relationship. This is not this video, but are you getting your needs and wishes satisfied? Are you being treated with respect? Are you capable of being honest? Is it fulfilling your values and your goals that you set out for yourself? Is there an even exchange? Is your cup being filled? Actually, hold on a minute. I think I have some like that's hilarious. There's like this, I keep these like oracle cards by me, and they like tell me like get rest, or like I just like when I need encouragement. This is the Starseed Oracle. I think it's really, really nice art. They have like, black people, which is great. Rebecca Campbell does it. So water your garden, nourishment, body care, tenderness, rest. Like, I look at it and I think she got braids in too, just like me today. This is exactly, let me keep this up here. This is exactly the kind of vibe I'm trying to cultivate. I'm sitting here, I'm in my own waters, in my garden, with my flowers, with the moon, unbothered. That is the level that I'm trying to, and as you create sensuality about yourself, you know that you have a sacred space to come back to at any time. And when you have that, you can trust yourself to do more expansive things. That's why you need pleasure. You got to trust that you can make yourself happy. And then when you can trust that you can make yourself happy, you got to stand on business when you go out there with other people. Is this friend giving me pleasure? Are they bringing joy into my life? Do they make me feel good about myself? Do I make them feel good about themselves? Are we adding something to the world by being together? Is this making sense? Does my heart feel full? Do I feel like they're like, I have friends where I just feel deep, deep love for them. I was like, I'm never letting you go. But is that the kind of connections? Are you creating those connections that feel overwhelmingly good, like your heart is about to burst, and it's platonic, right? It doesn't have to be romantic. But if you're going to keep your platonic people to that standards, and very well, you should, you don't have to do anything, but think about how that should map onto your romantic connections as well, nevertheless. And so what, I don't want to say surpasses them all, but the final piece that I was mentioning is spiritual pleasure. Is your soul being fed? Like is this chicken soup for the soul? Is this encouraging you along a path that feels good? When you, as I've grown, I've realized that it starts with what I see around me. I could not see past certain boundaries because I've never been beyond them. I couldn't understand that there could be more. And when I stepped outside of that by physically moving, you start to realize that there are more abstract ideals, the same way people learn, right? You start with the colors, the touches, the senses, and little by little, children to grow up and they develop understanding of abstract concepts like love and death and the end and to finish. What does that mean? And what that looks like in the physical sense as well. And so spiritually, right, this is not about religion. This is about your soul, what makes you feel good, your heart, whatever you want to call it. Your pleasure will lead you to a life of purpose. And I would say this and people would laugh. I laugh at myself too. I only do things that I want to do. Right? No one can force me to do a single thing. No one can force you. I mean, you might be put between a rock and a hard place. No one can make you do a single thing. And I realize that as other people try to convince me of what's the right path or why I need to do something to be better, I said, if I don't see the worth behind a thing, definitely not bringing me joy, why would I continue? I'm not willing to make the baby steps for it. And I'm not willing to put in the work because it's not bringing me joy. This is not making me happy. I don't feel good. This is not getting me excited for life. It's not turning me up. And this now, like, I don't know, third or fourth pivot in my life, it's showing me that I can lean into that feeling of ease, of gentleness, of trust. Your spiritual pleasure is your trust and your belief that you can do that you can have a life that feels good for you. That, oh, I'm doing this thing and it connects. It feels good. Your heart is on fire and your heart is on your sleeve. It's burning. I love that. Like, I feel like that light is exactly where her heart would be. Like, I feel it right now when I show up here. My heart is on fire. I'm excited to come here and talk about these things and what they mean to me. And so these are the kind of things that I mentioned, like, spiritually, nothing is making me do this. But my heart is on fire and I feel good and I can feel myself connect. Whoever this is for, I know you're going to be here listening, so period. But it feels really good. And you'll know that. No one can make you know that. You know what sets your heart on fire. You know what feels good when you do it. And when you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, you'll know which way to go. Or maybe you turn around. Sometimes it's neither way. You gotta, I don't want A, I don't want B, I'm going with C. And who's gonna tell me what? Right? Pleasure is not just, oh yes, it feels good, yada, yada, yada. Yes, it feels good, but at other times it's much bigger than that. It can be like the ocean versus a stream. Very gentle, nice river looking at it. And then suddenly ocean, it's magnificent, it's powerful, it's larger than life. It's embodied, it's deep, it's profound. However, it's a little dangerous, right? You got to navigate those waters. And so pleasure exists on a scale, but it is still very necessary to help experience joy and gratitude. When you experience pleasure, you create more gratitude. With gratitude is a more open heart. And open heart means that you share more of your love with the world because everybody's got it for folks. So, exactly. That explains exactly why you should live by. Everyone is special. You're very special. You are very special. Thank you for existing. right? Thank you so much. I learn a lot from you guys and from showing up here as myself. I learn a lot from the me of yesterday and the me of 4 years ago and the me when I just got here and all of that. And I can only do it because I know that there's more enjoyable experiences to be had in life. I'm turned on by it. Anyways, but yeah, it's not a bad thing to fall in love with life and to know that it can be sexy in all of the ways and enjoyable in all of the ways and still be good. So yeah, I mean, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Subscribe and hit that bell if you haven't already. But yeah, what's y'all stance on this one here? Let me know. Bye, y'all.